Superstars as now we move into the city for our next event, bowling. For a report, here's Paul McGuire.
This is the bowling event, the 5th event. What happens is all the participants compete in a preliminary round, which they have to bowl one game. Now, the 5 top seeds progress to a stepladder final, and it goes like this. Seed 5 and 4 play. Whoever wins that, they go against 3, against 2, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Paul. And in match 1, number 4 seed Greg Foster defeated Gary Anderson 40-37. Foster went on in match 2 to outroll the Dallas Cowboys' Danny Noonan 43-34. And in match 3, Foster continued his winning ways as he slipped by number 2 Roger Craig 48-46 to set up the championship match against number 1 seed and Superstars bowling record holder Ronaldo Nehemiah and number 4 seed Greg Foster.
But for Foster, well, his luck, his play ran out. And you know what? Nehemiah's record was no fluke.
No, Greg Foster had his work cut out for him. People don't know that Ronaldo carries a 187 average in the bowling alley.
Well, form finally held as Ronaldo scored a big win with strike after strike after strike. And you know about bowling.
I do. He throws that big hook. Watch his ball. He gets in there, he puts a little spin on it, and the ball hooks. Look at that.
What was your average?
I had a good average.
I mean, was it, well...
I can throw that hook, too. Watch this. He gets right in, he gets that hook right into the pocket there. That's the way you roll strikes. That's winning bowling.
Uh-huh. You still didn't answer my question. You know, I asked you before on another event, what is your bowling average? I mean, do you have one?
Oh, yeah, I had a good average. Good average. Well, now here's another shot, Paul. Watch that little hook right into the pocket.
Yeah, well,
close.
Well, he just missed another bowling record with that shot right there, but he beat Foster 77-31.
There's the final standings in the bowling. Paul had a word with the winner.
Yeah, we're with the winner, Ronaldo Nehemiah. You're a little psychic, my friend. You know, I talked to you before this whole thing started. You tell me the guy you think you might face is Greg Foster. You do that. I said to you, you have a chance to beat the record held by Chris Collingsworth at 79. Of course, you did do that with 77. Did you know something I didn't know?
No, I didn't, but I knew when Greg Foster made the finals that the old Greg Foster, Ronaldo Nehemiah, there was always a record in jeopardy, and, you know, it almost happened today, and you're going to see a lot of the two of us in the next few months, so I'm very happy to come out on top.
A very confident Ronaldo Nehemiah. Now, look at the standings at the midway point in the showdown. Herschel Walker, Ronaldo Nehemiah. Don?
This is Don Crickey as the Superstars competition has now moved to Miami Marine Stadium, city of Miami, for the 6th event, rowing. It's a difficult test. All these athletes have the ability to row hard, but keeping the boat on course, that's where the dilemma lies. The preliminaries have already been held, and the conditions are not very good. Choppy waters, a lot of wind. Ahmad is at the start line with the 3 finalists. Ahmad?
Greg, nice day to be out here in this boat, huh?
It's not bad, it's not bad. You know, put a little strap a saddle on, we'll be all right.
Well, that's optimism. Optimism, man. Have a good race. Gary, this is the finals. This is a lot like San Diego when you row all the time, huh?
Yeah, that's why I gave it up. I gave it up.
What's going to be your biggest problem here?
You know.
All right, this is your best event right here. I mean, you're strong in the rowing, huh? Are you all set?
I need Danny Noonan's arms for this stuff.
No, this is nice. It's not too choppy here. You should have a good race.
Right. What I'm trying to do is ride the wave.
All right, Roger, have a good one, man.
You know, Ahmad, I like their attitudes, but their voices seem like they were cracking a little bit. They look scared.
Paul, if you're down here on this dock like I am, you'd know why they were afraid.
No, I'm out here in the boat, man. I got me a job to do out here. I got to make sure these guys win.
Greg Foster rowing hard in the far lane. He has a substantial lead. That's Gary Anderson in the middle lane. We're looking at Roger Craig now at the on-camera boat.
This is the toughest conditions that I've ever seen in the Superstars competition. It is really choppy out here.
I wouldn't be able to win this with a motor on it.
You do have a motor on.
No, I'm talking about if I had one of those with a motor on.
All of a sudden, Roger Craig's coming on in the first lane, and he might catch Greg Foster at the line. Gary Anderson doing the best he can, but as we look at the final stretch, it is Greg Foster pulling away to win. Roger Craig, the second finisher. Gary Anderson was third. So in these very choppy conditions, Greg Foster, an experienced rower from previous Superstars competition, goes a very strong way. So the final standings in the rowing: Foster, Craig, Anderson, Noonan, and Brown. And after 6 events, Roger Craig's in the lead with 28 points. Nehemiah Walker tied for second with 23. Noonan and Foster follow. And coming up next at the Superstars, bicycle racing. This is Don Cricky back at the Superstars competition, and now we come to our 7th event, the bicycling final. Twice around this quarter-mile oval. The overall point leader after 6 events is San Francisco 49er Roger Craig. 2 standout athletes are tied for second. Herschel Walker of the Dallas Cowboys. He, of course, is the defending Superstars champion. Also tied for second, Ronaldo Nehemiah, a 4-time Superstars winner. Now let's go to the start line and Ahmad Rashad.
Ronaldo, one of your strong events. What's your strategy here?
You want to get out and establish the lead and then maybe get behind somebody in second place. You always want to stay up in front, but just want to stay on the bike.
All right. Herschel, your strategy.
Well, I think my strategy is just to pray and hope that they don't lead me too far.
See, Herschel always trying to psych somebody out. Were you listening, Greg? Were you listening about this one?
Yeah, I was listening.
Tell me what your strategy is.
Just go out behind the lead and try to hang with him, and we go all out in the last 200 meters. So.
And cut Herschel off. All right, Roger, what's your strategy here?
About the same as Greg. I just want to stay behind and show my strength at the end.
Well, if you guys all stay behind, then I guess Mike's going to win. You hear all that strategy? They all stand behind, so I guess it leaves it up to you to be in first.
Well, I'm going to hang as close to the leader as possible and then make my break in the later part of the race.
No, Mike, there is no leader. See, they're all hanging behind is what they say.
Well, whoever's in front.
Oh, okay. Good luck, man.
But the smile stopped now. Game faces are on as they're lined up waiting the starter's gun.
No one wanted to tell me their strategy. Everybody wants to hang behind.
There's a lot of wind to contend with today, so there'll be some drafting out there. Pulling away nicely is Roger Craig in the outside as he cuts to the middle and now takes the lead.
I think we got to watch Ronaldo Nehemiah because for the past 6 months he's been training on the bike because he had an injury to his leg and the only thing he could do was ride a bicycle. So I think he should be very strong here in this race.
I'm just waiting to see when they make that turn, Don, if they pump as hard on the turns.
These guys are all experienced riders. They keep digging the whole way, and they're all going for the lead. Nobody's holding back here. They're looking for the first place right off the first lap.
Herschel Walker is hanging back.
Now we come to the second lap. Roger Craig contending with Ronaldo Nehemiah. That's Ronaldo Nehemiah in the lead. Roger Craig running second.
If Herschel's strategy is to just try to stay in contention until he can really make a sprint for it at the end, he's got to make a move right now because he's way in the back right now.
He's too far back. I just don't see any way to catch a Nehemiah or Craig.
Nehemiah and Craig down the final straight. 80 yards to go, and they're going to come to the tape in very close to a photo. Ronaldo Nehemiah appeared to have caught Roger Craig, and it looks like Nehemiah is going to win the event. That is the official order of finish. Nehemiah, Craig, Walker, Foster, and Young. Paul's with the winner.
Well, Ronaldo, 2 events ago after the bowling, you said you're going to win the entire competition. The guy you have to beat, that you had to beat in the bicycle, was Roger Craig, who is you're 2 points behind him.
Well, Paul, you know, it's a matter of picking and choosing your events and your strong points. I feel that I'm a good cyclist, and I had to drag and get behind people and keep at least in striking distance. And Herschel was tied with me. Roger was in front of me from the beginning, and I felt I could outkick them, you know, based on my 1-lap time.
You're happy with your time?
I don't know what it was. I'm happy with winning.
Good luck, Ronaldo.
And so after 7 events, Roger Craig is the overall point leader with 35, Nehemiah with 33, Walker with 27, and a tie with Foster and Noonan. Gary Anderson's young son loosening up Dad for the half-mile run, which is next at the Superstars. Back at the Superstars, we're set now for the 8th event, the half-mile run. And here's a look at the field for this test of endurance. Paul McGuire, you were quite a track man, weren't you?
You know, in high school, I ran the mile. I was a miler. And I know what these guys are going through. This is a tough race.
They used to clock you at that sundial, didn't they?
Yeah, well, things with sand in it. What do they call it? They turn
Egg timer.
Did you ever run against Roger Bannister?
No, he doesn't go back that far. They do know each other, though. One of the things we find in this event is a lot of times the guys that look good on the first lap, it's twice around the quarter-mile oval, aren't there at the end. Right now, Ronaldo Nehemiah with the head on, striding out very nicely. Herschel Walker, a great sprinter with that blocky sprinter's stride behind him.
Ahmad, you used to be fast. Let me ask you something. When you have a guy like Ron Brown, who is a 100-meter guy, sprinter, total sprinter, and he gets in a race like this that's a half mile, what really is his strategy? I know they wouldn't give it to you at the beginning, but what would his strategy be?
For most sprinters, especially world-class sprinters, they don't run any further than a quarter mile. So to run a half a mile is really a lot of pressure on them. They can't run this distance at all. You'll see that Ron Brown, I don't expect him to do very well here.
Right now, Ronaldo Nehemiah is doing well, running in front. Herschel Walker right behind him. Ron Brown and Gary Anderson trailing. But all pretty well bunched as we come to the first quarter-mile mark, and now we go to the final lap.
You know, Herschel Walker's a great athlete in his own right, but the question that keeps nagging him, what's wrong with the Cowboys?
Well, I think what we needed, but I think we're getting right now is young blood. You know what I mean by that? The Cowboys have always had a winning tradition with the guys that are, some of the guys that are there now. And, you know, those guys are starting to get up in age, even though they can still play very well. They're starting to get up in age. And now we're getting young people to come in. And those older guys are starting to, you know, rub some of that championship blood, rub some of that championship feeling off on the young guys. And, you know, I think that's what the Cowboys needed. You know, they needed a new atmosphere, you know, a new attitude. And I think they're starting to get that now.
Right now, Herschel's got a pretty good attitude. He's staying right with the leader, Ronaldo Nehemiah. Ron Brown putting a kick on as we come now to the final turn, the final straight, and Walker, the sprinter, is still in the race. And how? And here comes the Herschel Walker kick. As he's going to blow away the field, Anderson comes down. He'll take second, but look at Herschel Walker sprinting to victory with a 10-point win in the half-mile run. Gary Anderson, the second finisher. So Walker did indeed have a lot left when he needed it most.
Now, this is where we're talking about that gut check. When it comes down to the last 200 meters of a race like this is where you just have to want to do it right here. And you see Herschel Walker, the champion that he is, he puts it in overdrive and wins the race. And like I said earlier, Ron Brown, he's a guy that doesn't do any long-distance running. He's a sprinter, and as you can see here, that's his forte, sprinting.
So the official order of finish, Walker, Anderson, Nehemiah, and Brown. And the standings with 2 events to go. Nehemiah and Walker tie with 37 points. Craig with 35. Foster Noonan with 20. Now let's go to our roving reporter, Mr. Golick.
We're here at the start of the 100-yard dash. Now, we sprinters have certain techniques that we like to use to get a good start and continue on into a good race. Now, let me set this down. You get in, you get good foot placement in the blocks. Down here, you want to get a good snap out of the blocks. Runners, take your mark, go.
Thank you, Bob. The man is lightning. Coming up next, the 9th event, the 100-yard dash.